Hi, I'm Shikha, your host for today and the lead of State Climate Fellowship Program. This initiative, led by Climate Group from the last 3 years, places passionate young climate professionals with the state government departments to work on climate policies right from the ground up. Today, I'm joined by 4 incredible climate fellows from 4 different Indian states, each working on a different climate priority with their host governments. They have navigated policy, fieldwork, and everything in between and are here to share their journeys of what it looks like. Welcome everyone, and let's dive in. Before I actually start into the conversation, I would love for each one of you to introduce yourself. Why don't we start with you, Sarita?
Thanks, Shika. My name is Sarita, and basically, I work with the State Climate Action Cell, Department of Environment and Climate Change under the Government of Maharashtra. I'm a master's graduate in public policy and a climate and public policy expert. And my work has revolved around working with communities, with stakeholders, and integrating climate action plans from the top down to the bottom up. And I will speak more about my journey and what has led me to be here as we move on the conversation. Thank you for having me here.
Thanks, Sarita. Lovely to have you here. Over to you, Vibhav.
Thank you, Shikha. I am Vibhav Kumar Sharma. I have a background in chemical engineering, after which I turned into a petrochemical engineer. After that, I make up my mind of turning myself into an environmental specialist because I was doing a lot of solo traveling. So I joined Indian Institute of Forest Management, from where I did my environmental management and conservation livelihood. Now I'm working as a state climate fellow for the state of Madhya Pradesh, where I'm building the capacities of government officials and assisting the environmental planning and coordination organization with their projects and with their work on climate adaptation and resilience. So that's all about me.
Thanks, Vibhav. That's a very enriching journey. We'll delve deeper into it in a while. Over to you, Swati.
Hi Shikha, thank you. So my name is Ashwati and I'm a graduate in climate change adaptation basically. So my expertise is in climate change adaptation. So I am basically focused in interlinking climate related fields. So I have an experience in interlinking biodiversity conservation and climate change, and again with disaster management perspective as well. Right now I am getting more closer to capacity building and a policy framework as well. And my core personal area of interest is in relating climate change and sustainability field. My concern is like emission is what comes up in mind when we think about climate change. So I wanted to delve with the root cause of climate change, and that's where my area of interest is in.
Really looking forward to knowing more about your journey. Devyanshu?
Thank you, Shikha. My name is Devan Shukla and I am from Lucknow, currently deployed with the Directorate of Environment as a State Climate Fellow. And by training I am a civil engineer, and after that I have started my environmental journey from IIT Kanpur in a air pollution monitoring project, and later on my interest kept on developing in different areas. So later I have deepened my understanding and knowledge in the field of air pollution monitoring and air pollution policy framework, drafting policy, and later on in capacity building as well. So I worked in various cities of UP like Agra, Bareilly, Kanpur, Lucknow. So this has developed me a great understanding of the state of Uttar Pradesh, where I'm currently deployed. So thank you.
Great. Welcome everyone again, and I'm so excited to take our viewers along with your journeys of navigating climate and now with the states. Let's start by understanding your work a little bit deeper. Each one of you is placed into a different geography, different institution, and a different context in your respective states. I want you all to take us into your world. What your challenges have been, what are the lessons, what are the day-to-day stories, and the impacts. So Sarita, I'll start with you first. Maharashtra is facing multiple climate priorities and multiple climate challenges, and it's already taking steps, but translating that into action is another matter. What is the major gap that is affecting implementation in your view?
Maharashtra is a very dynamic and wonderful state, but the climate challenges are very complex. We have the Konkan region, which is a coastal region of over 800 kilometers, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which is the Western Ghats, and then also a very drought-prone dry land, which occupies a lot of the agrarian economy. So it comes with a diverse set of challenges too, and there is no one size fit all plan. An example of this is 45% of the state lives in urban areas and 55% live in rural areas, predominantly dependent on agriculture. And we see a lot of impacts each year. Last year, we seen 142 extreme weather events, climatic hazards that we call in Maharashtra alone. This was a CSE report that documented this data. And we've been seeing the losses in agriculture, the losses in industry, which is the backbone, of Maharashtra's economy, and the 1 trillion Viksit Maharashtra goal that we try to move towards. And so within the State Climate Action Cell and with working with the department, you also understand that with the complexity you need creative ideas and creative solutions. So I would say I'm very proud of the government of Maharashtra and my department to take proactive steps in drafting climate action plans for specific regions. But I think when it comes to the translation, also making people understand what climate change means is very different for who you're talking to. Just to give you a very small example, in 2018 when I was doing my masters, we couldn't figure the exact translation in Marathi for climate change. It was Havaman Badal. And now in 2025 we call it officially Vatavaran Badal, which is also name of the cell, the State Climate Action Cell. So right from there to like what is it? Is it just weather related or is it environmental and ecosystem related? That journey to even come for a state and even for its people to understand exactly what this means, I think that is an example of how the challenges move when you're working in climate policy and climate action.
That's a very interesting insight that you have given to your state. I'm sure the State Climate Action Cell, the newly formed one, is taking proactive measures, and it's commendable that Maharashtra is taking steps towards climate change. All right, moving on to Vibhav. Vibhav, what is your one insight on your engagement with state departments in Madhya Pradesh that you have gained from being embedded in the state system? Was there a small change you helped bring in that created a larger ripple?
Yeah, thank you, Shika. So, what happened for the state of Madhya Pradesh specifically? The departments were disconnected with like local government system that is there. So most of the conferences and workshops that were held at in Bhopal is for major cities like Bhopal, Indore, for the subject related to climate change and environment. But most of the districts of Madhya Pradesh were not having these kinds of interactions or this kind of knowledge sharing. So one thing that is missing out is the proper communication of climate change to the district officials. So what I put there is we drafted a capacity building training at a divisional level so that we can connect and impart the knowledge of climate change and environment to the district level officials so that they can provide these inputs in their daily to daily routine projects and works that is happening there. So this is happened in two divisions, that is Bhopal and Indore, and I'm sure this will create a ripple effect as we are planning to have another divisional level training which will be supported by government of Madhya Pradesh. So this will be happening soon.
That's great. I think the sensitization of the officials who are actually placed at the department level is the first step towards bringing in a bigger change. So glad of all the work that you are doing. Moving on to you, Divyanshu. In a state like UP where the climate challenges are vast and the issues are so layered, how hard it is to prioritize the climate issues? How has this learning shaped you, and has there been a moment where you felt like this is exactly why I am here?
While working in the state of Uttar Pradesh, in the different cities with the different municipal corporation, with the different departments like pollution control boards and all. So I felt there is a need, there is a huge gap in the training part and the capacities of the staffs who are working on the ground. So we here as the part of research, and then comes the policy drafting part, and then when it comes to implementation part, there is a need of trained, skilled manpower. So for that skilled manpower, there's a need of capacity, and that's where my role comes in.
Thanks, Divyanshu. That's very interesting set of insights, and I'm looking forward to delve deeper into your journey further. Ashwati, can you walk us through one key challenge that you have faced, how you approached it, and what kind of response you received from the government departments?
The challenges, one thing will be mostly everybody, every one of us will be aware how to approach a government department or a government official in position. So that's where I, throughout my journey, has faced it as a whole challenge. I have seen the worst and I have even seen the best throughout my career approaching a government department. One thing, the process might be time consuming. So we should be constantly pulling them over to our trackie. We should keep a track on whatever we do. We should go behind them, we should remind them such a thing is there, we should make them alert. One thing, time consuming. And the other thing is that they may not take us serious. They may not have the intensity of what we are saying, the government officials. That's where the layman's perspective even lies. Not even the government officials, even a layman may not know what the concept of climate change may be. So multiple challenges are there. If I'm approaching a community, I should tell them in their perspective. I shouldn't always talk science, technical terms, in my perspective. I might be a person who is a graduate in my field, but that's not how I put it into a common layman's perspective. That may not be the way I approach a government official or a department as a whole. They might understand it much better, but they may not get the depth of what I'm speaking. In EPTRI, we have a strategy on how to pull the departments together. We have a strategy to call which and all departments to club in, to conduct a training, to pull up the resource persons, everything. We have a strategies there. It is time consuming, but compared to my experiences, my previous experience, it's not that much time consuming. So yeah, over to you, Shika. Thank you. Okay.
Great. I think I have interesting takeaways from your answer. One, patience is the key. Any
Yeah.
wicked challenge will come with its own timeline,
Yeah.
and the key is to not rush it.
Coordination is a major role in that. Patience is also a key. We may not have the patience, but they are like, we have hell of patience, you approach us. But we may not have the patience because we have to get it in a timeline. So we have to constantly keep them on track, pull them into our track to get things done.
That's quite insightful, Ashwati. There are a couple of takeaways for me and for our viewers. Patience is actually the key. While I understand that wicked challenges like that of climate change requires us to move the needle fast, but we do require that we should not let the speed deter the progress, right? All right, now let's take a step back, and I'm excited to hear about your personal journeys. What your inspiration has been to work into the climate system. Was there a turning point which led you to work with the governments and the public systems? Why don't we start with maybe Vibhav this time?
During my chemical engineering days, I was also working on carbon capture and sequestration methods and how we can utilize the CO2 from the atmosphere and make it useful in like various forms such as fuels, and we can maybe put it into like geological formations. This is the time in which I got to know about what the environment is, what the climate change is, and this is my whole journey in which I switched from a chemical engineering sector, petrochemical sector, which is the one of the biggest emitting sector, to a environmental management and climate change sector.
Thanks, Vibhav, for taking us through your inspiring journey. And I really like how you have woven your different experiences and how it has taken you to this field right now. Excited to know about yours, Sarita.
Well, I think, and where credit is due, I would like to give it to my school teachers. You know, we had a subject called EVS and everybody took it for granted. Yeah. But because we did not have a dedicated, environment was never considered something so important back then, that we had chemistry or biology teachers who were made to teach EVS. So I think their commitment to, you know, what we know as greenwashing today, back then they were like, no, you need to understand the concepts, you need to do activities that are not just tokenizing. I think that really stemmed it. And fast forward, I did my master's in public policy, and as part of our course assignment, I read a book called Silent Spring by Rachel Carson. And I will not give spoilers to the book, but it really showed that how scientists can make such a big difference. And science alone cannot make the change. You do need policy and you do need allies in this space. And the first fieldwork I think that I went for in my first job was visiting my own city of birth, Mumbai, and seeing the fishing communities that have lived alongside where I have lived, but how alien their issues were. and how much more vulnerable they were to climate change, like even heat or sea level rise, than I was, who was staying very much, in the interior, in a flat, in a very sanitized environment. And I think these two were formative, in shaping my whole experience in this space. The reason I got very drawn towards the state climate fellows because I met a state climate fellow before this fellowship, and I was really wowed by the experiences they had shared and received from the whole journey. And if you ask 2018 young Sarita, I would never think that my state would have a state climate action cell. That there would be a dedicated department that would work on environment, on climate change issues, and not environment just in the context of biodiversity or green and blue.
I love your response, and I especially love the part where you integrated the gender lens into how this is integrated with climate change. And I'm great that the things are changing, and the future generation is much more sensitized and much aware about saving the planet. Excited to also know about Aswati's journey. What was your turning point, and what led you to SCF?
So speaking about my very first experience which linked me to environmental sciences, my very first experience in the field in climate change is during my graduation. So I had this survey experience, and I also had been a victim of climate change impact, say for flood, twice. Once when I was in my graduation, and other when I was doing my first job as an intern, as a fellow in Chennai. So in both time I have been a victim to flood because I was just stranded. I was stranded without food. I actually hail from Kerala, and my place is not that safe because I have been a victim once I was in Kerala. Kerala floods 2018, you might have heard. So in Chennai 2022, our modern urban cities, it gets flooded in a single day of rain. You needn't even wait for a day these days. Maybe a 2 hour, 3 hour rain might give us a flooded condition right these days. And back in then, being a victim, I know what is the impact, and also a graduate in climate change, it connects me more in this field. And again, I had a vision to change people's perspective on going through a survey of 2018 floods that happened in Kerala as part of my internship. Like we had a pre-internship, I did my internship with Asim Premji University on 2018 flood impacts on people. So in those surveys, we wanted to take the perspective of people and both government officials as well who dwelt the situation. So people's perspective was like they never knew what climate change was about. They were just blaming the government. What the government can do. Even the government was not in a situation to explain that this is climate change. So training capacity was lacking there as to both citizens as well as the government official. So we brought in administrative Kerala local administrative service to pitch in to bring in people, to bring in expertise resource persons to take classes on climate change and impacts of climate change, so and so. So that's how technically we nurture the idea of climate change in layman. And also the government official. If we all know in government departments we have separate training sessions for government officials as well as for common community people as well. So again, what motivated me in joining the State Climate Fellow is I had experience working with the Kerala state government on climate change in district level. So I worked as a hazard analyst in climate change in a district level. So coming on to our State Climate Fellow, I am handling an entire state. So I was very curious how the district level role differs in handling when it comes to state level, how the role might be. So I was that curious.
Thanks Ashwati for taking us through your journey and your inspiration which led you to SCF. How about you, Divyanshu, what your inspirations have been and so on?
So I have lived in a city for more than 20 years. So whenever we live in a city for more than 10 to 20 years, we slightly observe a environmental change, whether it is urbanization, development of infrastructure, changes in the vegetation, changes the water level, groundwater levels, and changes in the rain pattern. From the childhood, I have observed all these things within a one city, and I wanted at that time I wanted to make some certain kind of impact. Like how could I make it? If I want, I can volunteer. I can volunteer any organization. I can volunteer on my at an individual level. so that I can make people understand through awareness activities. I can make people understand that yes, this is real. This is a real environmental crisis. So yes, I could do that volunteering, but I wanted to get on a higher levels. For example, if I work with a bureaucrat, then I'll definitely going to work at a policy level and can make changes on ground. So I've started journey in with the research and development work at IIT Kanpur, then to TERI. When I got training in the field of civil engineering, I was least interested in that part, but when I started working with the IIT Kanpur, and I've got into the field of air pollution and environment, so this has grabbed my whole interest. And at that point, I have started thinking that there's a need to work on this part as well. Okay, civil engineers are building the doing that construction part. I don't need to get involved in that, but how to overcome, how to mitigate that destruction part that is being done due to the rapid infrastructure development, rapid urbanization. So that is the part which I felt that I have to be here. I have to be in this field of environment.
Thanks, Divyanshu. One common thread that I have observed in all of your personal journeys is that how grounded, personal and solutions focused your approach has been. You have actually taken measures to step into this system and figure out your own ways in different capacities throughout your journey to move the needle on climate. That's quite inspirational, I must say. All right, let's shift gears a bit and move to the next segment. I want you guys to reflect on a bigger picture. And I know this experience is intense, immersive, and deeply tied to systems change. So I would love to hear from each of you on your experiences. Ashwati, how has this role changed your view of working with the government?
So patience is the real key here. It has taught me a lot of patience. It has pulled me on the track to how we have to deal with government officials and so on. So this is what has pulled me into it, or this has what changed in me, being diplomatic and patient as well.
Thanks. This is quite an interesting insight, Ashwati, and I must say that this is an experience that all of you in this room would agree on, that concerted efforts of all the departments is a must prerequisite in order to move ahead, right? And also highlighting the passion that young change makers like you bring to the table within the systems and the energy to move and take things forward. Very excited to also hear from you, Divyanshu. What is this something that you want to leave behind at the end of your fellowship?
At the end of fellowship, I want that more and more people are getting together for climate actions. Who will be working on ground, actually working on ground, not only on papers. So capacity building, training and educating people is literally very much important. That's what I want at the end of it.
Right. Nothing can be done without awareness and sensitization, not just within the systems, but also with the common layman and the citizens. So well put. Thank you. Vibhav, what is one key lesson that you have learned about driving climate action at the state level?
Okay, so I have worked at a district level with the bureaucratic system, but this is the first time I got to work with the state level bureaucratic system. So the one thing which I got to understand and learn as a lesson is that the state is more like focused towards the developmental activities that will drive the state fast in their developmental journey. So I learned how to intact the environmental concept, environmental climate change content in their developmental projects. So if we are linking development, environment and climate change together, and then we are presenting it at the bureaucratic setting. So this is one of the thing which I mean government officials or bureaucrats get attracted to, and will be very much happy to talk about. So this is the one of the major lesson to like connect developmental activities and link it with like environment and climate change.
Thanks, Thanks, Vibhav. This is so well put. I absolutely believe that nothing, especially a problem of this sort, can be done in silos. It needs to be integrated well within the developmental priorities, of the state. And congratulations on the great work that you guys are doing and continue to do. Great job. All right, Sarita. I'm just curious to know, now that you have come this much far into your personal journey, into your climate journey, what is one thing that you would want to give as a piece of advice to the youngsters and our viewers who are viewing this conversation on making their first step? They have the passion and they have the energy to make a difference, but don't know where to start.
So I think there's no generic advice that you can give young people. It really depends on them and what they want to pursue. But from all my learnings, if I could give myself, a lesson, say 10 years back, it would be that don't believe a one-size-fits-all. Because in any development or developmental subject or social subject or even climate change, there is no one size fits all, right? A solution that may work for, say, one issue, one community will probably not work for another. And I would say that there's a lot of feelings of helplessness that a lot of young people feel, including us when we started out.
Climate anxiety.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason also why a lot of young people come into, venturing into the climate change space on what can they do. And often when I speak to young people, I do, that I speak to a lot of young people as, part of the capacity building workshops and just, questions that come from them. Is it enough? Whatever we do in our lifetime, will it be enough? And I think that question itself puts us in a losing position. I think the question should be, what can we do, even if it's not enough, but that would drive a small change. Because I think the reason we are sitting here is because somebody, back then advocated for, say, education, advocated for women to probably get into the work system. And I think what we can do is sow seeds to advocate for climate action further. And I think even the smallest action that they can take is not small. It is a seed sown and it will grow into a sapling. The second most important advice I would give to young people is really taking care of your community. And this is a family that you choose or a community of your own. And climate adaptation will be at the heart of caregiving for this community, right? It will not come from a climate action plan only. It will also come from the caregiving and the support we provide for each other. And really understanding the accountability also from who you're supposed to demand, because it is not just the government, or it's not just the industry, or it's not just the people, who are to blame. And a lot of the blame goes in silos often. Yeah. But really understanding accountability and how we are a part of the accountability, framework and not apart from it.
Right. I loved your response. I loved how you have integrated the entire stakeholder approaches that we always talk about, that community, governments, systems, and the policies need to be aligned in order to move. And no stakeholder is small enough, right? If I want to add on to this, I would say that to the young people who are watching us, that your voice does matter. So your voice may shiver, but ensure that you are taking space in the rooms. I loved all of your responses and the conversation that we had. It was so open, so candid, and so rooted in your work. So thank you so much for joining us today. And what stood out to me was that how you all are not just working in the system, but with the system to combat the climate crisis. You remind us that climate action isn't just about top-down policies. It's about everyday context, collaboration, and courage. So the State Climate Fellowship was built to exactly inspire this kind of change making for the young, passionate people like all of you to drive change from within the systems. So thank you all again for joining us, and thanks to our viewers as well. I hope that our conversation has left you hopeful, inspired, and you are going to do your bit for climate action. Thank you.